Undeclared wars are commonplace. Tragically, our government engages in preemptive war, otherwise known as aggression, with no complaints from the American people. Sadly, we have become accustomed to living with the illegitimate use of force by government. To develop a truly free society, the issue of initiating force must be understood and rejected.
What if sometimes, to love your country, you had to alter or abolish the government? What if Jefferson was right? What if that government is best which governs least? What if it is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong? What if it is better to perish fighting for freedom than to live as a slave? What if freedom's greatest hour of danger is now?
Hi, everyone. Judge Andrew Napolitano here for Judging Freedom. Today is Friday, February 27th, 2026. It's the end of the week, the end of the day. It's also the end of the month. It's our favorite time, our intelligence community roundtable with my dear friends Ray McGovern and Larry Johnson. Ray and Larry, welcome here. So I guess I should get right to all of this. With all of the movements of military equipment into place and civilians out of the way, with all of the words being articulated, with all of the war propagandists beating the drum, isn't it obvious that war is coming soon, Ray McGovern?
I'm afraid it's not obvious to me. I know that I'm in sort of a conflict with many colonels and many former CIA analysts, but you know, the way I look at it, Judge, is there's an expression: if something looks too good to be true, it's probably not true. Now, in this case, if something looks so stupid and so consequential in its deleterious consequences, to be done, and the main power doing this, the prime mover, still hasn't done it, then I suggest he probably is not going to do it. That's in sum. I'll just add this, that I did watch the two Larrys, Larry Wilkerson and Larry Johnson, on Nema's show just an hour ago. Larry suggested that it could be this weekend again, the weekend attack. And the thing that I just remarked is that it was really remarkable to me that there were 37 reasons, cogent and compelling reasons why this should not be done. And yet the conclusion was, oh, it's going to happen. Maybe Larry said this weekend, Wilkerson's, well, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen, guys. There's a negotiation track going on in Geneva. Why does anyone not mention that negotiations are in? The agreement has begun to stick the negotiations strictly to nuclear matters, not missiles, not proxy wars, and they're dealing. And Monday, they're going to get down to particulars with the participation of Rossi from the IAEA, who I just learned participated in the talks in Geneva yesterday. Oh, so what's he doing? Does he have to do with missiles? No. With proxy wars? No. They're doing a deal on enrichment. And as I've said countless times, Trump is going to be able to get up and say, we prevented. The Iranians said the magic words, we will not work on a nuclear weapon forever and ever. It's better than the JCPOA, forever and ever. Cross their heart, hope to die. And only you, us, will realize that that's a claim that is vacuous, because the intelligence community realized and reported in 2007 Iran stopped working on a nuclear weapon at the end of 2003. And as recently as 1 year ago, Tulsi Gabbard repeated that judgment and said there is no evidence that the supreme leader who issued the fatwa against that back in 2003 has changed his mind. So, I'm an outlier, I guess, but my God, I just can't understand how all the reasons against this attack are dismissed at the end. They're going to do it anyway.
Right. You're an outlier, but a very eloquent and articulate one. Larry, I think you're the other side of this coin.
I'm just going with what the facts are. Fact number one, we've had previous negotiations where Steve Witkoff came out and had a tentative agreement on enrichment with Iran. That was a year ago, April 2025. And within 24 hours of returning to Washington, D.C., he was forced into a 180-degree turn. And remember on June 13th, when the surprise attack was launched on Iran by Israel? Well, they were supposed to have talks on Monday. But instead, initially, Trump claimed he had no knowledge of it, and then he claimed he had full knowledge of it. So what did we see yesterday? The Iranians came out very positive. They thought, yay, we've made some progress. And what did the United States say? Trump didn't say anything, didn't post anything last night until today, where he said, Iran didn't give us what we needed. And as Ray has pointed out repeatedly, absolutely Iran has given him what he needed. Iran has been very forthcoming repeatedly by Arakchi and others that they do not want to build a nuclear weapon.
Right.
But now what we have, the UK has issued a warning to all of its citizens against travel to Israel, that multiple foreign embassies in Israel have now drafted contingency plan, emergency plans. Italy is urging its citizens against traveling to Iran, to those that are there immediately. U.S. embassy personnel in Baghdad are being evacuated. Multiple flights from Turkey to Tehran, Iran have been canceled for tonight. Poland has called its citizens to leave Iran, Lebanon, and Israel as soon as possible. These are the warning signs. I think the last one we'll see before an actual attack takes place is a flurry of NOTAMs, notice to air missions, that don't fly here, don't fly there. But this is where it's headed. But apart from that, we're hearing, I'm in touch with Doug McGregor and Lieutenant Colonel Danny Davis, and we're hearing from our sources within the active duty military that they're going forward with this.
Ray, does the intelligence community recognize today, let's call it March 1st, just for the sake of argument, the same as it did when Tulsi Gabbard testified under oath just about a year ago, that the Iranians have not been working on a nuclear weapon since 2003, and isn't the president obtuse enough to disregard that consistent intelligence finding?
Of course he is. And the precise reason he will be that obtuse is to claim that they were working on a nuclear weapon. And Donald Trump, scared the hell out of him, and they're not doing it anymore. Yeah, and also they're allowing some of their highly enriched uranium to go to Russia or Turkey or to be put in some sort of consortium. That's the deal. Now, the Iranians coming out of this thing made sure to note that the subjects in discussion are limited to the nuclear issue. That means that when Trump told Bibi Netanyahu on the 11th of February, forget about it, okay? We're not making any concessions to you. I insist, Trump's words, I insist that the negotiations go forward. Those negotiations had their last session yesterday. The outlook looks very good. They're meeting in Vienna. Why are they meeting in Vienna on Monday? Because that's where the International Agency for Atomic International Agency for Atomic is it?
Right.
AEA. Okay, so
right.
going to be there too.
Larry, does Trump have an off ramp at this late hour?
Sure. I mean, look, Iran said Tuesday night at the State of the Union, Trump said explicitly what Iran needed to say. Iran has said that since that speech. And here I'm quoting Trump. Here's what he said today. I'm not happy with the fact that they're not willing to give us what we have to have. We will have some additional talks today. Well, Iran has given him what he has to have. He doesn't want it because the pressure that's coming from the supporters of Israel and the Christian Zionists is enormous. Because but again, we've seen this pattern before. This happened exactly to Witkoff a year ago, April.
Right.
And then when they tried to follow up with talks, it was sabotaged. They have now deployed too much military force or combat air power to the region that they feel compelled to use it. And if they go forward with this, I mean, I hope and pray that Ray is correct. That this is all some drama from Trump, but he had the ability to come out today and say, yeah, we got some positive developments yesterday, as the Iranians said, but Trump didn't say that. He said the exact opposite. So I don't think he's just playing game. That's what he believes.
Right.
Foolishly.
Ray, before you jump in, I want to run this clip to which Larry was referring. Chris, number 17.
No, I'm not. I'm not happy with the fact that they're not willing to give us what we have to have. So I'm not thrilled with that. We'll see what happens. We're talking later. We'll have some additional talks today. But no, I'm not happy with the way they're going.
Go ahead, Ray.
Okay. I think everyone can recognize that Trump is a little mercurial, that what he says today, he might not have said yesterday. And what he says on Monday, this will be the key. Monday, they meet in Vienna and the nuclear issue is at stake. Iran has made very clear that it's willing to make concessions on enrichment. On the business of a bomb, Trump can pretend that he faced them down on the bomb, and very few Americans will know the difference because very few Americans listen to us and know that the Iranians stopped working on a nuclear bomb and are religiously forbidden from doing that, according to the same supreme leader that's there now, back in 2003. So the makings of a deal are there. And meanwhile, we have the reality that the U.S. forces are running out of ammunition. The Russians and the Chinese are giving them capabilities that they never had before. The range of these airports, that's the kind of thing I'm referring to. Larry, you are eloquent with NEMA just now. They don't have the range to hit that, and the tankers, they're not going to. So all these things are arrayed against them doing. This suggested to me that they're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, but
Larry, here is the apex of Trump at the State of the Union. This is the only statement he made in 1 hour and 48 minutes that caused the Democrats to stand and cheer with the Republicans. It is, in my view, the result of Israel having poisoned the minds and the pocketbooks of the American elites and those we send to Washington. This is about a minute long. You both have heard it, but I got to play it again. Chris, number 13.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
The Ayatollah Larry Johnson writes in blood, we will never, ever have a nuclear weapon. That is not nearly enough for Netanyahu and his people. Their goal is the dismemberment of Iran, no matter what is agreed to at a negotiating table, Larry Johnson.
Yeah, no, correct. I mean, this is the nuclear weapon issue is just it's a red herring, as well as the lie, the egregious lie that Trump just told that Iran's the #1 sponsor of terrorism. That's absolutely false, completely false, provably false. But this is about regime change, and it's all built around a false narrative about Iran. The fact of the matter, we like to pretend that we're the victims, that Iran's killed all these Americans, when in fact it's just the opposite. America is responsible directly and indirectly for the deaths of at least 300,000 and more likely 500,000 Iranians. And part of that, a large portion came from our support of Saddam Hussein in his war against Iran and the use of chemical weapons that we supplied. But then you saw Trump saying, this is what Iran has to say. And after that speech, within 24 hours of that speech, Iran said those very words. And what did Trump say? Did he say, oh, hey, Iran has spoken up and they said the words? He said, no, I don't like what I'm hearing.
Ray, let me ask you some technical questions.
Sure.
What kind of intel does Iran have of American military capability and intentions? We have intel on where their missiles are. What intel do they have on us?
That's a real good question. The Chinese have given them chapter and verse. As a matter of fact, the Chinese have taken their satellite photography and published it, indicating exactly where the U.S. bases close to Iran are and what kind of weaponry is in, what kind of fighters and bomber aircraft. I think the Chinese are sending a little signal there. Besides that, as most of my colleagues have already reported, the Chinese have given them a radar that allows them to acquire targeting out to about 500, 600 miles, okay? And so these carriers have to stay way out there. And as Larry has eloquently pointed out, they don't have the combat radius to go on and hit any targets of worth hitting in Iran. So, against that, you have the Iranian spokesman yesterday. I don't know why anyone missed this, but he said after the negotiations, he says, look, our proposal for a solution includes technical and practical tracks that we don't want to do a nuclear weapon. Our proposal confirms that Iranian enrichment, well, we could do a temporary freeze on enrichment for a limited period. Our proposal, lastly, for a solution in Geneva does not include any ideas regarding our missile systems or defense programs. He added, our proposal in Geneva is politically serious and technically creative and includes everything needed to reach an agreement immediately. And Witkoff is blessed that and say, okay, we continue for the technical details in Vienna on Monday. Now, Rubio was supposed to go to Israel today. And he's postponed this trip to Israel on Monday so he can hold Netanyahu's hand and say, now, don't worry, we're still with you 100. Well, we're 1,000% we're with you, but we've made this deal with Iran because otherwise it would have been really a debacle for you.
Larry, what happens, in your view, to the American military if we commence a full-fledged attack on Iran?
Well, this is why I'm so concerned, because in the conversations I've had with people that are involved, they are making a number of assumptions about Iranian weakness and the unwillingness of China and Russia to get involved. Just within 24 hours ago, I was told, and this is, again, the working assumption on the planner's side,
right?
China is not going to get involved. Why do they care about this is what was said. Why do they care about those ragheads? They don't care about that.
So they still using disparaging language like that, notwithstanding the sophistication of Iranian society?
Yeah. So
this is some sailor that Larry is talking to. It's anecdotal information.
Let Larry.
Hey, listen, I didn't interrupt you. Please don't interrupt me. You don't know who I've talked to, and you're making a judgment that is wrong. I'm simply telling you this is not an outlier. And their assumption is that China has not invested in that. I then went back and said, you know what? Have you considered the possibility that China recognizes it may be at war someday with Russia, with the United States, and it wants to test its weapon systems now to find out if they work as advertised? And they're very China has been pouring an enormous amount of both air defense and anti-ship missiles into Iran. So they're not sitting back on the sidelines. But the point is, The West is making the assumption that we can take out all of their air defense system, and then we got easy sailing going in. And I maintain that is a false assumption, and that's one that's likely to bite us in the rear end.
You are maintaining that the U.S. intelligence doesn't know as much as you do, Larry, and your source, okay?
Well, Ray, I tell you what, I've already proven that with respect to casualties, with respect to Ukraine. The things that the U.S. intelligence community have repeatedly said are full of crap. They're lies.
That's different. We're
No,
talking.
it's not different. It's the same thing.
No,
They're all of a sudden great intelligence analysts now when they're dealing with Iran and they lie with Ukraine.
Were you talking
Let me jump in. Let me jump in. What happens if the Straits of Hormuz are closed? What happens if the off switch on international oil is triggered, Ray? The price of gasoline will go up to $10 a gallon, won't it?
Well, if you look at it in crass terms, it means that the Trump administration is over, that the whole world will be against what Trump has done. And the Iranians are quite capable of doing that. And any suggestion that they're not capable of doing that is really kind of off the mark, so to speak. So, yeah, if that happens, that's one reason, one very cogent reason why Trump can call back now and say, well, now we got new evidence from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and we think maybe we'll go to negotiations, which he has already said. So let's wait till Monday before we make prejudgments, and let's not predict one more time that this weekend is the time.
Larry, Politico reports that the U.S. Position is to tell Netanyahu to strike first, with the hope that the Iranians will strike an American base and kill American men and women, mainly boys, and that justifies Trump's entry into the war. Do you buy that?
Well, what we don't see coming out of the media and emanating from the Trump administration is any discussion about how to have a negotiated settlement with Iran. It's just the opposite. And that's the concern. You know what? All I can tell you is that the military personnel are saying the attack's going to be this weekend. Now, they've been wrong before, and they could be wrong this time. But what I do see that's taking place in tandem with what they're saying is that now, last weekend they said, oh, it was going to happen, but we didn't see the drawdown in the embassies. We didn't see the evacuation of personnel. We're seeing that now. And we can't ignore that. That is one important tell that at least the folks in those various embassies believe something's going to happen. Kazakhstan as well just pulled its personnel today out of Iran. So whether it comes today, tomorrow, what we're not seeing is where Trump said specifically, I've got to hear this from Iran, and that they're not going to build a nuke, that they don't want a nuke. And Iran came back and said, we're right. We don't want a nuke. Let's go with it. And instead of Trump embracing that and saying, hey, we got a foundation for discussion, you're saying just the opposite. We're not hearing what we need to hear.
Ray, does the drumbeat, the persistent drumbeat from minds poisoned by the Zionists, terrify you?
It saddens me because it continues. I just like to say that, it's not Pollyanna-ish to cite, contrary to what Larry just said, that Trump has made it clear that he's going to negotiations. That's why Bibi, after hearing that Trump described the first kinds of negotiations in Abu Dhabi with the Iranians as very good. What did Bibi do? He said, I got to come this week, not next week. And he came right away. And what did Trump say? There was no final communique. There was no final press conference. Netanyahu snuck in and snuck out without talking to the press. And what Trump said was, I made no commitments to Netanyahu. I insisted that we go to negotiations. Now, those negotiations happened yesterday, okay? And they issued in a commitment to pursue talks on nuclear matters in Vienna on Monday. So that's good news as far as I'm concerned. And I don't, who can rule out what Trump might order? But the constellation of reasons why he wouldn't do this or shouldn't do it, eloquently said by Larry Wilkerson and Larry Johnson just 2 hours ago. They're incredibly compelling and persuade me that Trump still has time. And he said precisely, I'm going to negotiations. They're underway. Let's see what happens on Monday before we predict another attack over the weekend.
Larry, how badly might American service personnel and American equipment suffer? You got jets that need to be refueled midair. You got an aircraft carrier there with the toilets that don't work and miserable people on it.
Yeah. Well, it looks like they got the plumbing fixed at Suda Bay and Crete, and now the Ford aircraft carrier Ford is stationed off the coast of Israel. It's not there to attack Iran. It's there to provide air defense for Israel against what they expect will be retaliation by Iran with missiles and drones. So the Ford doesn't have an offensive role in an attack on Iran. The real risk comes for the bases, the Prince Sultan base and the Muwafiq al-Salti base in Jordan, where you've got contingents both of tankers, KC-135 tankers, as well as F-22s, F-35s that are lined up to carry out the attack. The only way those planes can, before they can even dare to try to enter Iranian airspace, they've got to try to do what's called suppression of enemy air defense, SEAD, S-E-A-D. And they're going to do that. They'll try to do that with standoff missiles, JASSMs, which are air-to-ground missiles, which have a range of about 500 miles. Well, that range of 500 miles is about the range from Prince Sultan Air Base to the border of Iran almost. So initially, I don't expect the risk of many combat aircraft getting shot down, but that there is real risk that those bases, both at Prince Sultan and the one in Jordan, and then Al Udeid in Qatar, that they will be hit by the Iranians. Because this time, unlike what happened on June 13th, and remember, on June 13th, the Iranians were fully expecting to go to negotiations with the United States on Monday.
Sure.
I mean, it was, this is deja vu all over again, except this time the Iranians understand that the United States is prepared to attack them. So they're hoping for the negotiated route, but they're ready to respond. And last time when they got caught with a surprise attack, they still responded within 10 hours. This time, I think the response will be immediate, within an hour.
Ray, do you think that Netanyahu understands the risk of catastrophe to Israel?
It's really hard to say. Now, Netanyahu came over New Year's, right? He was there on the 29th in Miami. He was eager to show Mr. Trump some papers here which had videos and photos of this fellow Epstein. And my notion is that he said, now, just remember that we have these things, and as bad as it is in your country with the FBI suppressing all this data, we still have this, so just kind of remember that. Now, the operative thing is when he came back on the 11th of February. And on the 11th of February, as I said before, but bears repeating, he was turned down. He was told to pound sand. We're going to negotiations, and those negotiations are happening now. A word about this Politico report that the idea is that we would encourage the Israelis to attack Iran first, and then the Iranians might want to attack. Come on, give me a break. The Iranians are much smarter than that. They would demolish Israel, for God's sake, and they have the wherewithal to do that. They wouldn't pick a fight with the United States. So I see that one as being stillborn. I see Politico putting out these ideas, as they like to do, on behalf of the administration and other people that want to fuzzy things up.
Hey,
Larry,
Judge,
I'll give you the last word.
well, let me note that Department of State just issued a statement from Secretary Marco Rubio. Iran designated as state sponsor of wrongful detention. The last paragraph reads, the Iranian regime must stop taking hostages and release all Americans unjustly detained in Iran. Steps that could end this designation and associated actions. We encourage it to do so. No Americans should travel to Iran for any reason. We reiterate our call for Americans who are currently in Iran to leave immediately.
What the hell is he talking about? Americans wrongfully detained?
I don't, no idea, honestly. But
all right, guys.
Again, the key thing is there: Americans get out of Iran immediately.
All right, Larry, you believe that when we are together next, which is you at 9 o'clock on Monday morning and Ray at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, we'll be at war. And Ray, you believe when we are together next, Witkoff and the Iranians will still be talking.
I got $2 that says that.
I hope, and let me count. I hope Ray is right. I really do. But I'm just, the people I'm hearing from are, they're not pundits.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Everybody loves when you guys fight with each other because of the mutual respect and affection you truly have for each other.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen is right. Have a great weekend. I may be calling on both of you if Larry's right. Who knows?
Don't wake me up.
If not, we'll see you. We'll see you Monday morning. All the best.
Okay.
Thank you. And on Monday, of course, at 8 o'clock in the morning, no matter what's happening, Alistair Crook at 9 o'clock, Larry Johnson at 10 o'clock, Ray McGovern, and one of our other heavy hitters early in the afternoon. If there is war, if it does start tonight, we'll be on air tomorrow to talk about it as it's happening. Thank you for watching. Judge Napolitano for Judging Freedom.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern